In other news this week, explosions rocked the Syrian capital Damascus, hitting an area near the city's international airport. Syria's state news agency said the blasts were the result of Israeli airstrikes. A fuel tank and warehouses were allegedly damaged, although no casualties were reported. Media cited an unnamed intelligence source saying that the Israelis were targeting an ammunition dump. Israel declined to say whether it actually carried out an attack.
I can confirm that the incident in Syria corresponds completely with Israel's policy to act to prevent Iran's smuggling of advanced weapons from Syria to Hezbollah in Lebanon.
According to its policy, Israel rarely confirms such strikes. Israel and Syria have allegedly exchanged fire several times in recent months. Back in January, for example, there were claims that an arms depot at a Syrian airbase near Damascus was hit by Israeli missiles. RT's Paula Sleer has a look now at the reaction in Tel Aviv.
Well, these comments from the Israeli intelligence minister, where he basically says that these strikes are consistent with Israeli policy, are widely being understood here in Israel and certainly in the international community as an admission of responsibility by the Israelis for these strikes in the early hours of Thursday morning. Now, we have heard in the past from the Israelis that every time they feel that weapons are being transferred from Syria to Lebanon, they feel justified in carrying out strikes inside Syria. This is what the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu had to say.
I've made it clear that regarding Syria, Israel has no objection to an agreement on Syria, but we strongly oppose the possibility that in such an agreement Iran and its proxies will maintain a military presence in Syria. I think these things were made as clear as possible. Our policy is consistent. When we identify attempts to transfer advanced weapons to Hezbollah, and we have the intelligence and the means, we act to prevent it. This is what we have done before, and this is what we will continue to do. We are firmly determined to do so, and everyone should take this into consideration.
Now, those comments were made back in March, which was the most serious incident to date between Israel and Syria. There was also another comment that was made by a high-ranking IDF officer, also extremely rare because Israel's official position is to remain neutral in terms of what's going on in Syria. And the officer basically admitted that the Israelis had destroyed and targeted some 100 Syrian missiles. The Syrian response was to deploy its air defense systems and also fire a number of missiles towards Israel. Now, the Israeli response in turn was that the country's defense minister said that if they do that again, Israel will basically destroy Syria. Syria saying that this was a game changer. At the time, some of the debris fell as far away as in Jordan.
Syria continues to be a sovereign state. Just because it's embroiled in war does not give other states the right to conduct airstrikes there. Conducting attacks on whether it's Hezbollah forces or Assad forces, Assad, Hezbollah, and Russia are currently in a coalition that are the main fighters fighting ISIL as well as other terrorist groups such as Al-Nusra Front. So any form of attack on these groups is essentially weakening this side of the conflict and strengthening the side of the terrorists, even if that was not the purpose, which is debatable in this case.
Meanwhile, the UN has highlighted concerns over the growing number of civilian casualties in the Syrian city of Raqqa, where a US-led military operation against ISIL is ongoing.
Airstrikes in Atabaka city reportedly killed 8 people, including 5 children, and damaged 2 schools. On the 22nd of April, dozens of people were reportedly killed and injured in airstrikes on camps for internally displaced people near Al-Barda village, about 20 kilometers west of Raqqa.
Well, there are worries about how this operation will affect civilians. We're concerned about the safety and protection of more than 400,000 people in Raqqa as these operations commence, and we're urging all parties to abide by international human rights and international humanitarian law so that civilians can be spared the consequences, both of the actions by Daesh and by the airstrikes.
Well, according to the latest UN estimates, 400,000 people are currently at risk. Thousands have been forced to flee since the beginning of the Raqqa operation.
التحالف يضرب المدنيين والسور، واحنا انهزمنا من بيوتنا، يضرب بش اسمه بدو وعشوشي، واحنا انهزمنا تحارب بيناتهم وانهزمنا بالليل.
طلعنا من القصف من الرقة، احنا من محافظة الرقة، طلعنا من القصف رحنا حتى بدنا نطلع ما يخلونا نطلع، جينا على المهربية كل شخص 75,000 وطلعنا طريق صعوبة بشكل يعني مشي 3-4 ساعات.
وناس يعني معاقين وناس مرضى وناس يعني آخر شيء زتينا تشانتينا بالأرض اللي اخذين معنا ما أحسن تشيل العالم اللي يعني جد شيء معاناة يعني ما توصف.
These are very difficult areas. These are urban areas. This is urban fighting. The U.S., the political downside of having U.S. troops involved is very high right now, so the U.S. would rather use bombs, use weapons that don't require a massive influx of U.S. troops, so you don't have any U.S. casualties, which would be very unpopular back home. So essentially, civilians on the ground are being sacrificed for political reasons back home in the U.S. What no one is asking is why we're involved in these two battles in the first place.
You're watching RT. Still to come for you this ad. Donald Trump snubs an annual dinner with the press to be with his supporters, claiming they are better people. We'll have a look at the reaction in a couple of minutes.